Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first cold open to the Startup Junkies podcast. Welcome to another episode. This is Caleb. We're also recording, so can be watching us as well. With my co-hosts, Jeff Amerine and Davis McEntire. Hello, gentlemen.
We're going to talk about our new sponsor.
Yeah, and our new future sponsor, Jameson Cold Brew.
Please reach out.
This is a free one. You can email me at caleb@startupjunkie.org and I'll send you the address to send our check. But we are joined by friends of Startup Junkie, some people that avid listeners will recognize. We have Michael Iseman and Carter Malloy with AcreTrader. Welcome.
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for having us.
So glad you guys are here. So let's see, we have you on like every 3 or 4 weeks, it seems like. Am I losing track of time?
I don't think Carter's been on since it was like the very first farm was up on the website.
So you've done a few things since then.
That's right. It may have even been pre-launch. It was quite a while ago, and Michael and I were not working together. He was interviewing me, working with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry about that.
And not that I'm bitter about that at all. Well, give us the update, though. Give us for those listeners that aren't already, on the platform buying and selling farmland through you guys. Give us the 30-second update on what AcreTrader does and the latest news. I mean, it's exciting times for you guys.
Michael's going to tell you what we do, and I'm going to tell you the update.
Okay, so
15 seconds.
15 seconds. Farmland has been a pretty incredible asset class and has not been very correlated with the stock market, but it's very difficult to buy and transact and manage and even source or find deals. And so most investors have not had access to the asset class at all. And so AcreTrader identifies good opportunities to invest in farmland, and then you can buy shares of each farm through our platform. Typically minimums are in the $15,000 to $30,000 range rather than buying $1 million farm in the middle of Illinois. And then we handle all of the management, the administration to make a completely passive investment. And you would have typically annual distributions with your portion of the income, usually from a farmer renting out the land. And farmland has appreciated very well over time because there's less and less of it and more mouths to feed. And so eventually when the farm is sold, you would have your portion of the initial investment plus appreciation returned. And that's kind of the life cycle of a deal.
Michael, that is like the best elevator pitch I've ever heard you do.
I learned from the man.
That was great. Really good.
Yeah, you I think taught me how to do elevator pitches senior year of college. Back.
You've gotten even better. Okay, world class. No, that was really good. Easy to understand. So give us the update, Carl.
The update is we're growing like crazy, and we're having the best time of our careers. So today we are...
No offense, Jeff. No.
Ouch. Steal one of my best guys and rub it in. It's like, so glad I don't work for that schlub.
Michael has been highly successful in building and running a team of amazing people within the investor relations function of our platform. But on a wider note, we are approaching 40 people. So
wow.
been 20 of those having been hired this year. That's the thing. I'm going to go on a quick tangent and talk about the update more, but that's the thing that we care about the most as a business is making sure we hire incredible people. So we hire very slowly. We fire fast as well in order to maintain talent density and to have really great people that we're proud to work with every day. And as a result, we end up having a great product. We have really great investments to come through and ultimately really great outcomes for those that we work with. So we're really proud of the people that we work with, and that's probably the most important or the most fun part of the update.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we've done well over $100 million of deals.
Wow.
We are in a dozen states. Our investors through our platform, which are measured in the thousands at this point, or tens of thousands of folks have signed up with us. They're invested across a dozen different U.S. states. And so, yeah, it's been an absolutely wild time since you and I last sat down on microphones. And there was one test farm I don't believe we had launched or we had just launched.
You're just getting ready to, right?
This would have been, correct, that would have been early 2019.
So how quick, from the time that you have a listing, how quick does it fill up? What's the average amount of time to get all the available units that you have sold these days?
So
Yeah. Or I don't know if that's a trade secret.
No, I mean, it varies. And you can, if you watch the website, you can see some of them will go in hours, days, some in minutes, and minutes is obviously a little bit fast to make an investment decision. And so because farms had been filling up faster and faster, we decided to do a preview function. And so now, before a farm is available for a day or often 2 or 3 days, there's a preview farm available. You can see all of the details, learn about the farm. We often host a webinar for probably half of them, diving into the details on the farm. And that way you can make an informed decision. You know that the farm will be available for investment at 1 o'clock on Thursday, say, and it's just first come, first serve. And so we can't predict if it'll be an hour or a couple days. A larger farm will take longer than a $1 million farm, but we want to give investors as much information and time as possible.
How do you handle a situation where a whale, a large scale player comes in and they're like, we're just going to take the whole thing because we love it? Is that okay, or do you have some reserve that you set up?
First come, first serve. That is okay. We prefer for a lot of people to be able to participate. Obviously, right? Democratization of the asset class and having more people participate in this great American pursuit, which, by the way, happens to be this really fascinating asset class and has proven to be a really great investment over time.
Sure.
All those things are great. We want to have a lot of people involved. We do sometimes have people who will come in and take a large slug of capacity on a particular farm or on lots of farms for that matter. Our response to that is to hire more people on the farm team and find more farms.
Yeah, more and
so
bigger.
as that velocity increases, it just gives you more ammunition to go get more great farms.
That's correct. Our farm team is 7 today. We'll be 9 in the next few weeks, I believe. And this is people dedicated to partnering with farmers and landowners throughout the U.S. to put together great offerings for our investors. What we are not willing to do is reduce our underwriting standard or our diligence standards.
Sure.
What we are not willing to do is put up anything less than an exciting farm to our platform.
Yeah.
And so as a result, what that really means is the farm team's job is to say no. And that's all they do all day long is look at deals and say no. And for us as a business, it's all about building the data, the analytics, the data science, geospatial digging to make sure that we can automate and say no faster and faster and more and more.
Is it mostly row crops, or are you getting into other? Are you getting into other styles of farms as well?
We do. We are in both row crops and permanent crops. We have 2 types of farms. Michael, you want to tell us the difference in those?
Yeah. So the permanent crops have probably been 20% of our offerings, and it's a unique kind of specialty crop. Most individual investors wouldn't really have the opportunity to participate in, but you can through our platform. And those have been almonds, apples, pecans, and in those it's a little bit less of a straight appreciation play with the very, consistent cash yields from a cash rent, because you're investing not only in the farm, but also this productive asset, the tree that's on the farm as well, and the operation. And the specialty crop would usually have a little bit higher yield, not as consistent because it's based on how old the tree is. A 2-year-old tree is not going to produce very many pecans compared to a one that's a dozen years old. Those trees have a depreciation schedule as well, and so while the land may be continually appreciating, the tree would be depreciating.
Finite life, right?
Right. So almonds, it may be at 20 to 25 years of productivity. So similar IRRs between the two, but the permanent crops would usually have higher yield or more yield focus and less on the appreciation side. A row crop farm would be more of a very consistent cash rent, and so that would be distributed each year. Not a lot of variability in that. You don't have as much exposure to weather or commodity risk or the exact operation there, and then very consistent appreciation historically. About 6% or just under 6% over the last 50 years has been the annual appreciation of farmland.
In getting ready for this, you did a pretty spectacular job with that competitive matrix by asset class that you have on the website that shows the attributes, the check marks, and where farmland sits versus stock market. All the green checks are obviously following in your category there. But it's amazing what an asset class it is as compared to other things that are out there. If you needed one visual, check out the AcreTrader site and look at that competitive matrix because it's pretty compelling. So I was already sold.
It is
what I'm
something.
talking about?
Yeah. That competitive matrix is pretty special. But can y'all walk us through a little bit about that due diligence process that y'all take to saying no or saying yes to a farm?
Absolutely. So that ultimately that process is led by a rather. That's what I'm looking for Ben. A gentleman, Ben Maddox. And if you think about what we call the supply side of our business, the farms that we evaluate. You can think of it as a funnel, and Mr. Ben Maddox is at the bottom of that funnel with a death grip on the thing, not letting anything through unless it's absolutely exciting to him and to his team, and his very fast-growing team of farm analysts, financial analysts, data scientists. So he's got a phenomenal team out there really scouring the entire United States and soon to be world. We're now looking at some cool places to bring forth what we consider to be great deals. That process, Davis, is ultimately boiled down into 3 formal steps of diligence, so phase 1, 2, and 3. And each of those require more and more human hours. And ultimately, while it is an asset, and you can use computers all you want and machine learning and all these great techniques to understand some components of intrinsic value and understand things on a pure quantitative basis, there's an absolute amount, large amount of qualitative analysis that needs to occur with human interaction. So ultimately we have analysts on that team that are really, really digging in, not just on that particular farm, but on that geographic area, on the farmers in that area, and the tenants in that area. So that the farmers typically rent that farm from the investors, right? So making sure that tenant is somebody that's good, that we can partner with for a long time.
Making sure they're good operators.
Absolutely. Yeah. So same as it's the exact same. If you owned a retail building and you wanted to rent it out, you would definitely want to rent it to Verizon if they wanted to be a tenant, or some local tenant who you knew to be a very good person,
sure,
as opposed to the restaurant who has burned down the last 2 places they rented. Maybe don't want to rent to that person, and that's it's a reality of our business. There are these wild idiosyncrasies that don't necessarily surface on the website or in a simplistic overview. That diligence team is ultimately responsible for really working every angle of and doing so intensely for each farm that makes it through on the platform.
And Verizon, if you're listening, we're open to your sponsorship as well.
How often do you have to define farms where maybe the existing tenant doesn't really meet those qualifications? Are you actively putting tenants in relatively tenants farmers? And
that's a great question, and we do find tenants that don't work at it.
Right.
No question. We walk on that basis. But actually what's fascinating is a large portion of our supply today of the farms that we identify come from farmers that we have developed relationships with.
Okay.
Right? So this is a secret of our business, if you will, that a way we find lots of off-market volume, so things that are not actively being marketed, is we partner with the farmer. And our team has done an incredible job of outreach to these farmers to say, hey, Jim or Sally, we are a capital partner. And if you think about this from the farmer's perspective, they own a tractor, they have labor, they're buying seed already. There's what's called economies of scale, right? You're spending X amount of dollars to run your business as a farmer already. And so farming more land is generally a good thing for your business. But land is really expensive to buy. And so we outreach to these farmers that we consider to be great farmers and say, hey, we can be a capital partner. If you see any land nearby that you like, there you go. We've already had some on the ground buy-in on that land. If you see land that you like and you want to farm, we would love to be a capital partner with you. So this is a huge source of supply to us. Farmer calls, says, hey, I was at Betty Jo's house last week and she's retiring. She may want to sell her land. She would love it if I could farm it. Our family's been friends forever. And if you guys would buy it and rent it to me, she would give you a favorable deal on the land. So there's a win for everyone involved. Yeah, and that's really what we seek as a business is win-win for all the people we work with.
Was that dynamic something you anticipated before you got into it, or is that something you figured out as you got into it, along the way?
Absolutely the latter.
Yeah. So that was an insight that you gained just by being on the ground and releasing the model kind of into the wild.
And naturally, we were marketing to farm owners, thinking farm owners are the people who are going to sell their farms. And that is certainly how some of the deals come onto the platform. But it was, the same stuff that we talk about, test and iterate and make informed decisions based on your, what's the Mike Tyson quote that you always have in your lean startup?
Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the head.
Yeah, well, until your conversion rates are not as high as you thought they would be. And Ben and the marketing team were collaborating on, I think that we need to change our messaging and target a different consumer or user. It's a customer on the other side of our business, and shift the marketing has been really effective. And building those network nodes, it's not just a one-time transaction with someone who owns one piece of land, but someone who is in the middle of Illinois and they've got 5,000 acres and it's a, say, 35-year-old farmer that wants to expand to 10,000 acres over the next few years. They're going to continue to look for farms that they want to participate in, but aren't necessarily going to have the capital go out and buy each one.
It's a better deal to go the equity route with you as the equity partner rather than them having to worry about having to debt service or going through conventional finance to do the same thing.
That's correct.
Yeah, and it's just different.
Yeah. Because we're discussing, or the Startup Junkie podcast, we're discussing entrepreneurialism and being able to understand your business well. I was opposed to this idea, right? The idea of going to farmers, like, no, we want to find the landowners, they're the ones who want to sell. And one other member of our team said, no, we think our hypothesis and our thesis now is that we want to approach the farmer, even though they don't necessarily own the land. That's the person we want to partner with. I thought that was a silly idea. And push back against it. They convinced me to go run a test budget against this and go try this out. And oh my God, were they right? And oh my God, was I wrong? But it's a fresh reminder, and that story happens just about daily to me. It's a fresh reminder of within your team, the people who are closest to any particular interaction are going to understand that better than you may. And so trusting your team, trusting the process, and ultimately trusting the data very quickly in this case proved out that yet again, very wrong. It's very, very good to make sure to emphasize those points in your business and trust those.
Well, and you're betting on a good operator there, right? The one that can actually influence the productive output of the land, right? Mm-hmm. Versus the landowner could be pretty passive.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And I think that's a unique element to the business as a whole is the ability to get in there, have the background knowledge from that team that's sourcing those of, being able to interact and engage and build trust with farmers on the ground rather than being, maybe a finance wonk and, okay, we're going to do this. Like having the relationship there on the ground with, people in farming culture to kind of build that, I think is unique.
I think calling you a finance walk.
I think calling way more.
I think he might have been calling you.
I just mean if somebody else down the road, some highly educated individual decided they want to do something similar, and
It's
this
a
is
good
what we're
point
doing.
for both the relationship building.
Mm-hmm.
We have a team that has a lot of background in farming communities, farming families. Our COO is a fifth generation farmer, came from a group that was managing about 40,000 acres outside of Memphis, and having people that really understand that help with both building relationships, but also something that look great on a spreadsheet and awful in actual in real life, and having people who understand that and can deal source helps our investors see better deal flow, and that's certainly part of the these. It has to look good financially, but it has to actually be a good deal.
That much land outside of Memphis means you've definitely been through Widener, Arkansas.
So what comes next, guys? You mentioned in the international expansion. Can you disclose where you're looking at? Is there some kind of arbitrage in some of these places, or what's the play internationally?
Countries that we're interested in currently, there are a few South American locations, Chile, Argentina, potentially Brazil. Chile in particular is of real interest. And then Australia, Tasmania, New Zealand also have some really fascinating. And obviously there's a clear internal fight over who's going to go do the diligence on this property.
Absolutely.
There are some.
Nobody anytime soon because you can't get there.
Correct.
Close.
We have a teammate who lives in Tasmania and can't get here. We're trying to get here soon. But, there's a lot of fun expansion on the horizon for us.
But will it be kind of the same theory mostly? Will it be some where you have trees and other kind of permanent features, and somewhat will be row crops? Yeah, I wondered about coffee. That was I didn't know if that was a target.
You're gonna ask about coffee and hops. I feel like there's barley. I know where your line of questioning goes.
Coffee is not a target today. There's a lot of volatility in the underlying commodity price.
Sure.
There are certainly secular trends that would support investing in coffee over the long term. But not only is it like conflict ridden and there are labor issues in many of the coffee productive regions in the world, but it is also the sheer volatility in price movement of coffee beans can make it's a lot. It's really intense, and we are generally risk averse as investors, and so we've looked at a number of coffee deals and we ran every time.
Gotcha.
It's not, never say never. There are going to be some great ones that come along at some point, but today that is something we've not engaged with.
So I can't help but ask a question, since that's what my experience has been on this podcast up to now. Both of you have been incredible leaders, and I felt really fortunate to work for both of you and with both of you. And I think a trait that I was thinking about both of you having is the ability to cast a vision and get buy-in and kind of divorce that from all of the work that goes into getting to that goal.
Yeah, he's talking about us being lazy.
First he's nice.
No,
At first I was like, get a room, and now I'm like,
the guys that
I don't think that's it, because both of you are really hard workers and in the office first in many cases. But the ability to separate that and not get intimidated by all the work that goes into something, to really cast a vision of something that the world needs or the company needs or that is a real opportunity worth pursuing. And Carter, curious on your end, what about leadership have you learned or has changed in your perspective from leading a team of 5 to a team of nearly 50 now?
Everything, genuinely everything has been flipped on its head, and it has taken a lot of study and a lot of speaking, or rather listening, to learn from others to how to handle the various situations we're faced with. It's insane. And there's no one particular lesson that I could point to, rather than it's more of an amalgamation of experiences and, frankly, books and people and their experiences, and hearing those that help to deal with that. But you're very right. The move from a family to a tribe, which is the one that you and I are experiencing right now, the family to a village on our way to a tribe is wild. Mm-hmm. And there is no clean-cut path of how to best navigate that. But
any commentary, Jeff?
Yeah.
How do we?
That's a tough one to follow. I think it starts with fundamental, setting the foundation with the people that are nearest around you, building that echelon of folks that are actually going to do the leadership for the organization, and letting them do their thing, trusting them and getting out of the way, and not trying to micromanage it. I think that's part of it. Give people the autonomy and the rope to go out and actually do great things. And you have to, as a leader, I think you have to take satisfaction in watching other people succeed and realizing it's not all about you. If you can do that, so there's a reason why, AcreTrader isn't named after the founder, and there's a reason why Startup Junkie isn't Jeff Amerine Co. Mm-hmm. It's because it's not about us. It's about building something great and lasting that solves a real unmet need. Not that there's anything wrong with naming businesses after yourself.
Well said, Jeff. And I pointed out the challenges and the difficulties, and listening is important. But to boil that down to a few concepts of what our business has found to be effective is over communication, right? So being very purposeful in your communication, being incredibly frequent with that, even if it seems repetitive, to make sure that we are all consistently in lockstep. And there's what you call the beacon, right? The thing you're after, that's setting the boundaries around that beacon. So we all know the construct within which we work. So one is communication, and two, for the leaders within our business is absolute empathy, absolutely understanding what drives each person, and helping them to achieve their own goals. Yeah. And then time and time again, they surprise each other to the upside, and their ability to go out and kick ass.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Can I give a quick
You got
story?
any more questions, Michael? You want to just
It's story time. Story time with
I'm
Carter.
going to ask about how incestuous the state is that we live in.
Wait, what?
Sorry. Cut the mic.
And thank you for tuning into the Startup Junkies.
Save that for when we open.
We'll see you next week. See you next week.
And if you're a sponsor in West Virginia, just disrespect.
Thank God for West Virginia and Mississippi. Right?
And for context,
Carter.
for our new listeners, Michael is a Startup Junkie alum, just because we
Big
have
time,
so
yeah.
many new listeners.
Yeah, that's right.
And then also, Davis is an AcreTrader alum. too.
AcreTrader alum. Yeah, it's
Is
very
that
proud.
what you're getting towards?
Family alone. Yeah, so I was going to point to how tight knit we all are. So first of all, AcreTrader is across the street from Startup Junkie. So we live steps away from where we're sitting right now.
It's about a 3-wood.
Yeah.
Well, maybe even. Maybe
Yeah,
less, maybe
it's
more
like a
like 3
chipping.
wood.
That's a chip right there.
You're
That's a
younger
chip.
than me.
Yeah.
These are not the first beers we've had together this week.
So I met Jeff through a mutual friend. Shout out to Brent there for introducing
Yeah.
us. When AcreTrader was a half-baked idea on some some slides, like 80 slides, way too many slides. And not knowing anything about what I was doing, I asked him to sign an NDA to look at it. Like I had this magic potion in the slide deck. And he was very gentle and kind and said, "Dude, nobody's going to sign these. I will." Because I'm a nice person, don't dare ask a VC to sign this. And that was very good guidance. Thank you for that. Then met Michael working here. Then Caleb working here as well. Met him. Davis here is my nephew.
Yeah, very tight.
I've literally known him since he was born, and I've been around him my entire life. So it is a very, very small world that we work with.
Wow. It's like all in the family.
Yeah.
It's all in the family. It's all good stuff.
Welcome to Arkansas.
I perhaps chose the wrong word.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
Perhaps.
I wouldn't, yeah. We should have just cut it off then. It's like left everybody
It's when you
wondering
have
what.
more than one familial relationship, like it's my nephew and my brother. When you got more than one, that's when you really are somewhere in West Virginia.
West Virginia listeners, please. Not take it.
Like and subscribe.
We've totally gone off the rails here, haven't we?
All good. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I don't know.
I've got one. I mean, so you guys have built this great business. You've had a couple of great raises. You've got great investors. What does winning look like to you guys 3, 4, 5 years down the road? What's the? I know you've got this vision and you're disrupting the hell out of this asset class, but what do you want it to look like 3 to 5 years?
I don't know if this is cheesy or coy or cavalier.
We like cheesy. Kind of fits with our backdrop.
For us, the goal is fairly simple: create better outcomes for those that we work with. And if we continue doing that, then we're going to build a big ass business along the way. We're going to have a lot of success along the way, and we're going to have a lot of fun along the way. And that's ultimately, in defining success for any one person. It's not about being at the pinnacle or finding that. It's not a moment in time, right? It's having a damn good time along the way. And,
So
and
you
right
really-
now we are doing that.
You really are all about the journey. Then there's not like a pre-designated point where you say the fun begins there. You're enjoying every minute. Of the
No
journey.
way, man. We only got so much time on this earth. We gotta have fun today.
Yeah.
If you're not having
Love
fun
it.
today, then think about doing other things.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's great.
You're having fun, right, Michael?
I'm having a blast. I think RevUnit has one of their core values is celebrate the wins or celebrate it's the small wins, like a little bit better all the time is I think another one of theirs. And those have both stuck with me since meeting that team and getting to know them well. And I think that, we have fun. We work really hard, but we have a lot of fun too, and celebrate the wins and the milestones, and then everyone comes back and works harder to achieve the next one. And I think the people component that Carter started talking about is how do you continue to, you can't keep a culture the same when you're doubling the size of the team. And so how do you make sure that every person that you bring on is just as hungry and just as excited and just is a culture add, because they're not going to be culture neutral. So how do they add to the culture and make it more fun and more exciting to show up to work and, win together every day. And, we just hired a recruiter. We have a lot of cultural interviews, and I think probably she was surprised by how cultural our interview process is, but, we want to make sure that it's, good people so that talking with someone who we hired recently, she was like, this is kind of weird. Like, people aren't asking me about the things that I can do or my background as much as just like getting to know me. And it was really exciting and refreshing. But, after interviewing at a lot of places, it was different. And the response was like, it's kind of selfish because I want to work with people that I want to work with. And, and that's, part of what informs it and what keeps it fun and why people are excited to show up every day.
So what's the craziest thing that's happened so far in the business? Craziest from the standpoint of unexpected with a landowner or a farmer that you can disclose. Anything really funny or
nice little anecdote.
Yeah.
Nothing that's going to embarrass anybody, but there's got to be something, thinking about the world of farming and land and nationwide, that you've run across where you're like, oh, that was pretty cool. Can you do it without causing any kind of?
There was one. I've got one early on, and I'll let you think of a good real one.
The record.
You can claim it's off the record on this recorded
it's off
line.
the record as this rolls recording.
But there was one kind of just cool serendipitous moment where it was the first time I had talked to Carter about a position that they had open, and while they had funded one farm and had one investor other than Carter at this point, and in farms on AcreTrader, and we were sitting down talking about what it would look like, and someone called in. And it was their one investor. 5 minutes into our conversation, he said, I just listened to your interview on the Startup Junkies podcast. I think I want to take down the rest of this next farm. Right. And when we were having our first conversation, and I had interviewed.
That's a fist bump there, right?
I had interviewed Carter, like I was on your side of the mic.
Startup Junkies podcast.
And he was like, man, it's just so exciting what you're doing. I'm excited to grow with you, and I think you're going to grow a big business. And so that was a really good tone to have our conversation.
Which led to the next conversation of one of us has to speak to your boss immediately because I really love him, and I know you do too.
Yeah.
And so you did. Rightfully so. You were the employee, so you did first. And I immediately called him, and I said, I feel like Jeff, I sounds like you and Michael spoke. I feel this is a really unfortunate situation. I feel like this is high school and I'm trying to steal your prom date. To which Jeff said, it's okay, you and I haven't slept together yet. and that's when I knew we were going to be friends for life. And handled it, of course, incredibly nicely, and wanted to see you succeed in life, and was like really happy to see that. So thank you, Jeff, to you, to all that you do here locally for our area,
Glad to do it.
and for all you've done for our business.
Yeah, glad to do it. It's fun. That's the greatest satisfaction we have. In fact, the guys were asking me about that. They're like, what keeps you motivated? And it's two things. It's one is to watch the amazing things that the team does. I mean, just the amazing things, the operating tempo and stuff they pull off. And the second thing is to watch clients and the folks that we work with do great things. It's the greatest satisfaction to see good things happen to good people. So there's no doubt about it.
It's definitely fun. Like, even in the 2 years that I've been at Startup Junkie, seeing people 2 years ago at such a completely different stage just thrive, in that short amount of time, it's definitely satisfying. Mm-hmm. Even if I, don't have any input whatsoever, no consulting meetings on my end, but just being able to watch and see and have a front row seat to a lot of that is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
You still glad that Fayetteville's your HQ? You're not looking to move to some other place. You're not moving back to San Francisco, are you?
I'm here forever.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that.
Drag me out of here kicking and screaming.
Glad to hear it. Yeah, glad.
And we are about once every week or two moving a new employee to AcreTrader, or to Fayetteville for AcreTrader.
Are they fitting in the?
We're busting at the seams.
Are you really?
But we're at the pace of about once every week or two a new hire comes in, and more often than not they are relocating here for a position.
And it's such a great spot over there too, where you are in the EJ Ball Building. The view is awesome.
Yeah.
We hope you guys stay our neighbors. Just end up buying the building at some point.
We'll fund it on the platform. Yeah.
Put it on the platform, kick it with
Some vertical farming along the side of
Take
it.
it over.
Yeah. Green
Put a
roofs.
green roof on the top of it. Yeah. Sure, there's some corn up there.
Sure.
Sure. Thank you for having us here.
Yeah.
It's been a really great
Thanks for coming. Man, this is great. This is great. So what should we ask them the cheesy question we always ask at the end? The plane landing question. And I'll ask it to both of you so you both get to answer it. If you could go back to your younger self, and we'll say it doesn't have to be that much younger, but let's say pre-AcreTrader self, and you could convey the knowledge that you now have to your younger self before you started, what would that be? What would your advice be?
Let's go. This is fun.
Don't sweat it so much. Just do it.
Yeah, be patient. And one bite at a time. There's a whole lot of things I would say, but as a whole, in the context of what I tell my younger self, only 3 years younger self, to do anything different, the answer is absolutely not. I could not be more happy with where we are, the journey we've been on together. So yeah, there's tons of advice there, but the bigger picture advice is go for it.
Yeah, I love it. That's good. Michael,
Yeah. Think bigger.
think bigger.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think that, Carter's been a great advocate for that, and the whole team is, and just always challenging one another to think bigger. And that's something that, it's easy to get comfortable doing something that you know how to do or that you've already done. But when there's so much opportunity, just think bigger and make sure that you're, if there's an opportunity, to go after it.
I love that. And after Carter did the deed, so to speak, when he hired you,
Based on the previous context.
He asked me, I used to do a little diligence on you at that point. He said it was kind of an headroom, an upside question on Michael. He said, has he been challenged or has he been pushed? And I said, this guy's got lots of headroom to do great things. So something to that effect. There may have been an F-bomb in there. But anyway.
Yeah.
Now that the Love Fest is over, I suppose we should really land the plane.
Gentlemen, if people are interested in learning more about AcreTrader, want to get in touch with y'all, have questions, what's the best route for them to go about that process?
AcreTrader.com.
We have a website.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you can see all of the previous deals. I think we got close to 60 farms on there, so you can see all of the previous farms. There's a learning center with plenty of content on investing in farmland and how the platform works, how to use it. We're on all the socials as well.
What's your cell phone number?
Address.
P.O. Box.
Right.
Awesome. Well,
Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Great to catch up.